Hello everyone, we are tutorial 6, group 2, and I'm the group leader Yang Kalun, and my group members are Huan Yanshen, Jishan, Abdul Bari, Cyril, Ng Seyong, Lau Zhenhao, Tan Ka Lo, Akasha Hamid, and also Asha Hamid. Our topic for this presentation is critical decision making in high pressure situation.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lau Hao. Today, I'll be presenting my part of the presentation, which is what is assessment. An assessment is a process of evaluating and appraising anything based on a specific criteria norm or a benchmark. It involves gathering data, making assessments, and also drawing conclusions about the quality, value, or the process of a specific subject, such as people, projects, and systems. But in my opinion, an assessment is a process where you will do during a complex problem arise, and you yourself will make an effort to try to understand the problem and also to draw out insightful conclusions. You could also try to draw out meaningful solutions that will make it more effective to complete the problem or to end the problem as well. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abdulbari. Today I'll be talking about the key elements of assessment. Now that we know what assessment is, let's dive into the 5 essential elements that make it effective: criteria, data collection, analysis, judgment, and feedback. First, criteria. This sets a standard for evaluation, making sure assessments are fair and consistent. Without clear criteria, results can be misleading. Next, data collection. This is where we gather information through tests, surveys, or observations. The accuracy of an assessment depends on how good the data is. And then comes analysis. This step is all about reviewing and interpreting the collected data to find patterns, strengths, and area for improvement. After that, we have judgment. Based on the analysis, evaluators decide whether the subject meets the criteria. This step ensures that decisions are well formed. Finally, feedback. This is the most important part because it helps people learn and improve. Without feedback, assessments wouldn't be useful. In short, these 5 elements make assessment structured, fair, and meaningful. Understanding them helps us evaluate things better, whether in school, work, or everyday life. Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to be covering assessment, but I'm going to be mainly speaking about how does it influence decision making during high pressure situations. Of course, as we have seen from the previous slide, that there is the criteria, there is the data collection, there is the analysis, there is the judgment, and of course, there's finally the feedback. So as we can see in high pressure situations, effective decision making relies on structured process of assessment. As we just spoke about these processes, in order, of course, we start off with the data collection so that we gather as much data as possible. Then we move on to analyzing it to get on the most suitable insight for the situation. After that, we go on to make a perfect or not perfect, but a more suitable judgment. Then we move on to finally the feedback, which allows us to evaluate the results and adjust the actions as needed, ensuring flexibility and improvement. These, of course, ensures that yes, in high pressure situations, things may get a bit rough, but as well that we can come out with good outcomes and good decision making from them. Thank you.
Critical judgment. What is critical judgment? Critical judgment is the application of careful and reasoned appraisal to information, situations, or conclusions. It requires more than just observation, it also includes interpretation, information, and considering many perspectives and reaching well-informed decision or conclusions. And the key elements for critical judgment is analysis, evaluation, synthesis, contextualization, decision making. Analysis is when carefully examining and breaking down information or situations into component parts. Evaluation is assessing the reliability, validity, and the relevance of information or evidence. Synthesis is integrating different pieces of information to form comprehensive understanding. Contextualization is considering the context in which information or decision are situated, and decision making is making thoughtful and informed decisions based on the analysis and evaluation.
Hey everyone, my name is Cyril, and today we'll be talking about something that we have all faced: making decisions under pressure. You know those moments when time is ticking and stakes are high and your brain is like, what now? That's where critical judgment comes in. It's basically how we break things down, weigh our options, and make the better call without freaking out. First, you gotta analyze. Figure out what actually matters, then evaluate. Check the pros and cons. Then we do synthesis. Synthesis is basically connecting all the dots and making it all sense. But here's the key: context matters. You don't want to make a decision that looks good now but messes up later. And finally, you need to have a structured approach, because even in chaos, a good process helps you stay in control. At the end of the day, it's not about making decisions fast, it's about making them right. And that's what critical judgment is about. And that's all from me today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Asher, and I'll be presenting on the first example scenario, emergency room in a hospital. So let's take a case scenario where a car crash has occurred and the victims have been transported to the nearest hospital ER. So one of the victims or one of the patients is suffering from a bleeding wound but is unconscious, whereas the other patient, although conscious, is complaining about chest pains. Now the nurse trained in assessment needs to determine which of the two patients needs immediate care. So the nurse, by applying critical judgment, will recognize that even though one of the patients has a visible injury, they still appear stable, whereas the other patient who's complaining about chest pain might be experiencing a fatal heart condition. And so instead of prioritizing the patient with the visible injury, they did direct the doctor to the patient with the chest pain first. So we can see that by relying on structured assessment and critical judgment rather than reacting emotionally to the visible injuries, the nurse makes sure that the patient with a potential fatal condition gets immediate treatment, so preventing heart attack or even death. Thank you.
Thank you for passing on the speech to me. My name is Yan Shem. Uh, so when do we apply assessment and critical judgment? Following the scenario, the nurse is able to make a rational decision within a short time without panicking by applying critical judgment through communications. Since one of them is still conscious, the nurse should be able to ask specific details about the patient to determine which patient should be prioritized. The nurse can also call for backup. If the nurse isn't able to help both patients at the same time, then the reasonable choice would be calling for more medical personnel. Lastly, the nurse can also apply immediate treatment, because if one of the patients can be treated later, then he should apply sufficient treatment so that the patient is stable and the nurse can treat the other patient with urgent condition. Uh, Thank you for listening to my speech.
For example, scenario 2, a project manager leads a team to develop a new software product. As the deadline approaches, a major bug has been discovered by them and it threatens the entire release plan. Hence, the team is under great pressure and the atmosphere is tense. In order to solve the problem, they applied three key concepts. The first one is objectivity. The project manager focuses on the factual information about the bug and consults reliable sources, while avoiding emotional reactions or using unverified information. The second one is structured problem solving. Instead of relying on their gut feelings, they use a methodical approach to analyze the situation, define the problem, gather the data required, and hence generate the potential solutions. Lastly, enhance evaluation and judgment. They assess the available options based on the relevant criteria and consider the broader context to make an informed decision. Thank you, and I'll be passing to the next person.
Hi, my name is Yang Kalun, and now I'm going to talk about the example outcomes for scenario 2 when applying assessment and critical judgment. By applying those concepts from the previous slide, the project manager can make a calm, informed decision even under intense pressure. This might involve, instead of panicking, a project manager with strong assessment skill can prioritize the bug fix. If critical, they might delay the launch to ensure quality. If minor, they could implement a temporary workaround, releasing on time with a plan for a quick fix. Most importantly, the slide highlights transparent communication, keeping stakeholders informed about the situation. The decision-making process and the action plan builds trust and manage expectation. This is essential for maintaining project momentum and team morale. In conclusion, effective assessment and critical judgment allow project managers to navigate challenges calmly and strategically. It's not just about solving problems, but doing in a way that builds trust and delivers results. Thank you.
Now, to conclude, first we're going to talk about assessment and its effect on decision making. So, the definition of assessment is the process of gathering intel, which will then be analyzed to form conclusions about the quality or value of the subject that is being conducted. So, we can look at the first example, which talks about a nurse facing a situation where she needs to decide which patient to treat first. She identifies the status of each patient and discovers that the first patient is wounded and unconscious, whereas the second patient is conscious but suffering from severe chest pain. However, the nurse found out that the first patient seemed to be in a stable condition. This is when interpreting the situation helps determine essential and relevant information. The next point is that assessment aids quick and informed decision making. According to the first scenario, the nurse decided to treat the patient with chest pain first, as she knew the wounded patient's condition was stable at the moment. Lastly, assessment allows amendments to be made to decisions that have already been implemented. This covers the fifth key element of assessment. For example, if the condition of the patient with bleeding wounds worsens, then the nurse would adjust the priority towards the wounded patient to be treated first.